Hi guys, it's Tony here. Just thought I'd put together a little video. It's a lovely afternoon here in sunny Essex in the UK. And I was thinking, what on earth shall I talk about on this video? So I thought I'd give you a brief rundown of my life story. And if you're getting bored now, you can look away and go and do something else. I was born way back after the Boer War, and lived the first few years of my life in a flat above a driving school, where somebody learns to drive. From there we moved on down to another part in the area that I more or less lived in all my life, together with sort of grandfathers, aunties and everything else. It was a big house. And from then on we moved back into with my parents and my brother Philip, who has since emigrated off to Adelaide in Australia, who we've actually caught up with after about 40 odd years, some years back. Anyway, we moved into a little flat, the family and I. I sort of went to school in all the local areas, joined the Cubs, would you believe, and then I moved on to the Army Cadets, where I learnt how to sort of survive in the wild and shoot and root and toot and everything from Bren guns to 303 rifles, everything else. I always had an interest in guns anyway, although over here we had to part with our various bits of weaponry. I must admit I did enjoy firing my father's Winchester rifle, which was quite handy. I then started work quite at an early age, I think I was about 15 or 16, working on building clinker-built boats, dinghies, this sort of thing, which I did for a period of time, which was fun, except the fact that used to inhale half a ton of sawdust every day. So this is in the days of, or prior to health and safety, etc., etc. From then I went to, would you believe, work on a dairy farm. And I spent 2 or 3 years there, also a great deal of fun, learned a lot about animal husbandry, some arable, only about 50-60 head of cows, but I got the swing of milking them. They're alright as long as they stand still. In that period of time my brother was in the Merchant Navy, and he spent about a couple of years there and eventually, as I said earlier, emigrated out to Australia. And I must admit, this was when I was about 16 or 17, and my brother being something like 3.5, 4 years older than I was, funnily enough we grew closer together in the latter years before he moved out to Australia, and I thought, well, I'd like to pop out and see him as a surprise. So I thought there's a way around this, as there always is with these things, and I joined the Merchant Navy myself. He knew nothing of it, and arrived on his doorstep without his prior knowledge, only to find he'd gone fishing. So anyway, I came back some hours later while I had some leave in Sydney, in Australia, and lo and behold, I finally caught up with him. It was somewhat of a shock, but I thought I won't repeat that exercise again a few years back, as he'd moved on a bit in these mortal years. As I say, from working on the farm, I then spent a short time in the Merchant Navy. My main aim was to actually go and meet up with my brother. So after I came back from there, I spent some time working in the garage, petrol forecourt, doing some mechanics. From then I actually became an Automobile Association patrolman, which over in the UK is these little yellow vans that fly around helping people out who've broken down the road. And got to know a lot of people, had a lot of fun doing that job. I'm changing hands because this hand's hurting. And I think I bumped into a guy who worked in a little takeaway down our local seafront in Southend. And we got quite friendly with each other, and we decided why not we'll open a little restaurant. Well, we found an old derelict building not far off the seafront, which was due for demolition, It had its inbuilt tramp, which unfortunately we had to dehouse, and we finally, after a lot of toil and trouble and aggravation, we finally put it all back together again and opened this restaurant, which was called the Omelette Steak, because mainly it dealt with omelettes and steaks. There's a clue in the name there. And from then on, I think we were there for about 3 or 4 years. I think I then moved on from there. I wanted to expand the actual restaurant, but my partner at the time wasn't keen. So one reason or another, I parted company. Did a short stint working for a car rental company, which was a very short stint, a matter of weeks. Job was supposed to be in my local area, but ended up in North London. We won't go there. And from there I became an estate agent for a company for 4 or 5 years. And having left that, I then went back into the restaurant game, found yet another derelict building. This is in the local area here. And it was originally a garden centre with 9/10 of the floor missing, various sort of holes in walls and you name it, so another major operation trying to get that up and running. So I had that running for about 10 years, and all the time I was still working, or shall we say, in the home business as well. I mean, back in 1985 I think I first came across my first home-based business, which was involved in volumetric alarms, which was like a box unit that you set up in your house, and as soon as a door or a window was opened externally, the volume air pressure inside the house used to set the alarm off. Thing is, it used to go off willy-nilly on its own. So that was my first venture into that. From there we went through the usual pills, potions, everything else, some of them more successful than others. Telecoms, that was quite successful. And anyway, I carried this on. I'd sold the restaurant back in 1988, having been there 10 years. Thought it was time to move on. Tried to develop the site, but the local authority wasn't going to have it. So I thought, right, it's time to do something different. And then I more or less concentrated on doing home-based businesses here, there and everywhere. Odd jobs just to sort of bring me some capital in, sort of to help the marketing and all the rest of it going along. And which brings me to more or less where I am here. Although I still do odds and sods here, there and everywhere that have been very entertaining. But I would like to think that everyone I've met on the way, maybe good or bad, has taught me a lesson. And I love them all for just being who they are, where they are at that time in my life. And very, very proud of both stepsons, daughter, who is due to have a daughter very, very shortly in the next couple of weeks. And all the best to her. And love you all. Speak to you later. Bye for now.